I'm Josh.
And I'm Jen. Welcome to the Gospel Shaped Family Podcast.
Each episode brings biblical wisdom and practical conversations on parenting, marriage, and family. And we discuss how to disciple the next generation with a biblical worldview.
Whether you're raising children, shepherding a church, or longing to build a legacy of faith in your home, this podcast is for you.
Join us as we explore how to shape hearts, homes, and churches around the gospel, one conversation at a time.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Gospel Shaped Family Podcast. Well, today we're talking about Generation Alpha, which is such an interesting topic. We're living in a really unique time, and we want to stay faithful to God in our parenting and in our grandparenting, in our churches and in our homes. And so we're going to be looking at what is Generation Alpha, who are these kids, and what are some of the characteristics that are impacting their lives. So we're going to talk about who they are, why so many kids are struggling, and how to help this young generation develop a lifelong faith in Jesus. So, this episode is going to be a treasure for families. If you are a pastor, a parent, a grandparent, a ministry leader, you're going to come away from today with a lot of information on Gen Alpha. And, done properly, generational study can be helpful. We're all in our different, grouped generation, and it helps us identify cultural shifts and trends that we're seeing, and just all those things along those lines. So, we have a special guest today. Our friend Janine McNally is here with us, and Janine wrote a book called When You See Fireflies, Equipping Leaders and Parents to Minister Effectively to Generation Alpha. Thanks for being with us today, Janine.
Sure, I'm honored. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, we're so glad you're here. We have, of our 5 kids, 3 of our children are Gen Alpha. And so even like reading your book and looking at it, we're like, oh yeah, we see that. We see it. And then the kids all around us. So
Yeah.
we're excited to jump in and dig a little deeper on this topic with you today.
My name's Janine McNally. Married to my hubby Gary for 33 years, have 3 adult children, 3 little alphas,
Oh.
grandchildrens, grandchildren, ages 2 and 3. And we live here in Florida in the Panhandle. I was a high school teacher, and then I decided to go to Bible college, then seminary, and then just a couple of years ago, I got my doctorate of ministry. So I love studying, love learning, love writing, and I spent my dissertation on children's ministry and Generation Alpha. So,
Mm,
yeah.
Mhm.
that's great.
Yeah, this is right in your wheelhouse, isn't
Yes,
it?
definitely.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Definitely.
this is great. Well, and I guess the newest development is you have come under the umbrella of Renewanation, joined our team. We're really excited about that, and you're bringing a huge wealth of experience and knowledge and giftings and writings and all kinds of wonderful things. So, welcome
Mhm.
officially. It's great to
Thank
have
you.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Okay. So let's jump into Generation Alpha.
Mhm.
Tell us, what age are we talking about when we're talking Generation Alpha? Who are these people from a date standpoint?
Uh,
Different mother, different brother. They were children born between 2010 and 2014. So generations are usually about 15 years long, give or take, depending on who you read. And so their children now age between 2 and 17. So basically, almost every child alive.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
Yep.
wow.
So little all the way up through the teen years. That's what we're
Mm-hmm.
looking at. This is their generation.
Time. Yep.
Yeah. So, big picture, what are some of the characteristics you're seeing of Generation Alpha kids? Just big picture. What are some of the things that are happening?
Sure. Well, they're very global because they have the internet. They can touchscreen anything and find out anything. So they're very aware of the world. They're
Mhm.
very socially um, digital. At least they think they are. They communicate a lot with text messages all the time, constantly. Yet, interestingly, they feel very isolated at the same time, which we know that that's what technology
Mhm.
does. They were the first generation ever to be born into technology. So, my children, the youngest is 21. and my oldest is 31, and they were given devices. Probably the oldest was given a device, a laptop, when she was 13 for school, but she
Uh-huh.
wasn't born into that. She got it at an older age. Gen Alpha is the very first generation actually born into it. I remember at a restaurant a while ago, the paper children's menus they used to have with the
Yeah.
pictures on the back and the puzzles. We used to give them to our kids all the time with their crayons. Now they sit there with their iPads. And that's just normal for them. It's almost like they were born with the device. Their fingers, our 2-year-old granddaughter, she just buzzes away and
Mhm.
experiments, and that's what they're good for, which is what I think we're bad at. We don't like to experiment in case we push a button and go, "Oh no, what happened?" But they're just very normal with doing that. They're going to end up in careers we've never heard of, robotics and remote medicine's already happening now, and education, and the technology world is going to be their oyster. They're very visual, probably because of technology. They're used to
Mhm.
seeing things, they touch buttons, they swipe, and the adrenaline pumps, and so they're very visual, and they're going to be very mobile, which we're starting to see that now, where you can move around and do your job all the time, or talk and be very mobile. But all those characteristics, and then you blend that with the culture that we're living in, it's not necessarily a great recipe for success unless we step in as parents. So, yeah.
Mhm.
Those are
Wow.
some big
Yeah,
things.
that's so unique. Yeah, when you think about the kids, that are born into technology because, I mean, you're totally right, and we even see that with our own kids that, they just seem to, like, understand the technology, it comes so quick to them. I remember hearing, somebody talking about, like, this idea of, like, delaying, screen use in families, right? And
Oh,
people would
yeah.
say, "Oh, no, 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 you need to give these to your kids early so that they can learn how to use them," but really, I think that kids it's just it's become so instinctive for kids that they just
Mhm.
do know how to use them.
I think it's in their DNA, honestly.
Yeah,
I was at
yeah,
I was at the Verizon store the other day upgrading my phone, and there was
uh-huh,
a family of 4, and the 2 kids came in, they were probably 6 and 7 age, ran over immediately to the walls and started playing with the mounted phones that you could test out, and,
yep.
that's funny, the parents must be getting a new device. They were buying phones for their little kids. I
Oh,
looked over and I was like, "Are you kidding me? They're like seriously, 6 or 7 years old, they need a phone? Why?"
yeah, I
Um,
know. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
crazy.
I was trying to think in my head, okay, what's different for kids today growing up
Mhm,
that's changed versus when we were growing up as kids? So we're kids of the '80s,
mhm,
and just think of the profound changes that have
yeah,
happened in just like structural massive shifts. Think about like even how children play.
yeah,
When the lights come on outside in the neighborhood, you come home. We don't. Kids often aren't playing in neighborhoods outside anymore. They're, as you mentioned, on screens or how they learn and just the what classroom learning looks like today has
yeah,
changed profusely.
yeah,
Very screen based, and it'll be interesting to see if it's even robots and AI that's teaching they're trying I think it's gonna be a horrible learning environment to
yeah,
do that, but how they socialize, how they're parented,
yeah.
even today, just all of those things are massive, massive
Very
changes
different. Even
for
risk, right? Like, you think about, like, risk, here's what I mean when I say that is so, like, when we were kids, I remember I would, like, walk to the bus stop alone, and my parents would let me go in stores alone, and even, like, in this generation, it feels like there's um, less risk responsibility put on kids, less freedoms given, right? Like, you can't parents, it goes on parents too, but they don't even want their kids bike into the end of the street alone or yeah.
yeah,
So much has changed.
yeah.
The world is a completely different place. You've pretty much covered 200 pages of my book, so it's
Ugh,
impossible for me to go through all of that. But summarizing, obviously, we've got 24/7 news, so you
Yeah.
see everything that happens now, whereas we didn't used to see it. Also, shootings and the
Mm,
war and all those fentanyl and stuff. You'll see all that much more visibly, so they were aware of it. Then they're built in by schools, this lens of relativism. Nothing's true.
mhm,
There's no such thing as absolute truth. You make up your own mind what's true and what isn't. If you believe it, it must be true. So the whole secular worldview. Then you've got the disintegration of the nuclear family. That's gone out the window. Marriage. Single parents are now normal.
mhm,
Grandparents raising their grandchildren is become much more normal. The identity crisis, they're born into technology, as we've talked about. Then you add in COVID-19, that really messed with their heads. Then you've got the mental health issues that probably were way worsened by COVID. And then this whole secular worldview that the church is no good. Um, so yeah, the world is just different. That's where I got my book for my title from. Our kids would go outside and play in the backyard when they were growing up, and they had a play gym and stuff. And they would say, "When do we have to come inside, Mom?" And I said, "Well, when the fireflies come out." So they would stay outside playing in the backyard until it started turning dark, and then they knew they had to come inside because nothing good ever happens at nighttime, is what I teach them. So
okay,
yeah. The world is very different. It's scary, honestly.
yeah.
So let's talk through some of those items you brought up because I think they're really significant and they matter
Mm,
immensely for us as families.
Mm,
You mentioned the erosion of the nuclear family. Can
yep.
you talk more about that and some of the defining characteristics of what that looks like for kids
Yeah,
today?
so, gosh, in my book, I have statistics of, the whole marriage and family act and when it all disintegrated, back in the '80s, and then the courts that went through the same-sex marriage thing, and I have that all documented. It's not all in my brain right now, but, yeah, it's just gone. It's not
mhm,
the statistics of regular families, 2 parents and kids, is just so low now compared to what it used to be. So, yeah, same-sex marriage, single people, divorced, disengaged fathers, that's a big one. The dad
mhm,
might be there, but not be involved with their family at all. You got working mothers, it's very commonplace now. They go out to work, they think they can't survive on one income. We were in ministry, and I decided to homeschool our kids, and
Mhm.
I'm just finishing a book right now, and I just finished a section that talked about, um, for us, it meant learning to coupon. And I would have magazines. My husband used to work in recycling before he went to ministry, and he would bring home
mhm.
piles of those shopping inserts. And I would
Score.
sit there with our daughter when
Yeah.
she we would clip coupons and we'd stick them into a little file thing, and she would come shopping with me. And she's an incredible bargain shopper now. And she said, "Mom, that was thanks to you." But we had to do that, and I was a high school teacher, so I had no idea how to teach elementary age. So I had to learn how to do that too. That's all a sacrifice. If you have to move your family to a less expensive neighborhood or town in order to be able to do that, take it, do it. It's not worth the risk of putting them in public school. Sorry, I'm jumping the gun here to a different
No,
section.
this is
No,
great.
it's
I
great.
think those kinds of lifestyle choices,
Yeah.
so that our kids don't end up as one of the statistics that we're talking about they're important and it is doable. I think it's a great encouragement from you and others who have gone down that path because our a lot of young couples today here, it's not sustainable on a single income, a household with kids.
Mhm.
So they're either not having kids or they're putting, you start down a path of two incomes and you kind of get stuck almost. It's hard to get out of that then. But if you start or make some life choices to you make your purchases and your lifestyle choices with a single income in mind. It is hard to start. It takes a while to get established, but after a season of sacrifice, if wise choices have typically been made, you end up starting to be able to like, all right, we're finding our rhythm. This is doable, and we were like you. We did the single income thing for ever since Jen worked as an educator as well until our kids were born. Our oldest was born, and then she came home, and we've been largely single income since that point.
Mm.
And it, like you, was tough. There was those first years were
I
lean.
was a couponer too.
Yeah,
Super couponer.
yeah.
Yep, yep. Now we
But
bargain stuff online, it's great.
Yep, yep.
yeah, and I think, the whole erosion of the family, the nuclear family, if we can, we can maintain a marriage that there's lifelong marriage and give our kids, a just a stable home life, that in and of itself is a huge gift in today's world that's very different than what most kids are getting.
Yeah,
So that's a huge thing. Yeah.
Yeah, you have a quote in your book that says, "Topics that had been settled years ago as facts, such as marriage and gender, that were never questioned by past generations, are now up for public debate and redefinition for Generation Alpha children." And
yeah,
so that was such a great quote, but it points to exactly what you're saying, that we need to show our kids the truth. We need to give them the truth. We need to give them a biblical vision for marriage and gender and all of those things so that they can see the truth and hold firm through their generation.
yep,
Mhm.
definitely. It's a scary world, and it was hard for us. We were living on a church planter's, salary, which was $25,000, and we had 2 kids at the time.
Mhm.
And, we made sacrifices. We went on vacation on the off season to get cheap. I have no regrets. I mean, it was a challenge at times, especially with our son. He was not easy, but no regrets. I could have probably earned a good salary as a teacher here,
Mhm.
and never even entered my mind. As soon as they put that little baby girl in my arms at the hospital, I was like, "No one is getting their hands on this little girl for
Yeah.
8 hours every day, 5 days a week. That's not happening." And
Yeah.
my reaction, I mean, I was a public high school teacher, so in Australia, no homeschooling families over there really to speak of at all back then. Never even questioned it. It flipped my whole opinion flipped as soon as they gave me my little girl. So I can't imagine putting them on the school bus when they're like 4 and 5. Their parents celebrate it, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" You're getting who knows who inputting into their little minds. So, yeah, definite
Yep.
fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's huge. So you talked a little bit as well about, a lack of absolute truth,
Mhm.
a worldview battle that is happening for this generation, and that's intensified significantly. It was obviously
Sure.
has that's always been the case for every generation, but it has intensified for this generation. Can you talk about, so you've raised your kids, but now you've got grandkids in this age bracket, this generation. Can you talk about some specific ways that our parents and grandparents can transmit God's truth to this youngest generation, Generation Alpha, that helps them develop a biblical worldview?
I think the thing that strikes me the most is our daughter has the 3 little kids, and she talks about, how in her Facebook parent groups that she's a part of, that she tries to impact positively, they are all so concerned about what other parents think of them. Um,
Mm.
the whole idea of saying no to a child, it's give them choices,
Mm,
this
Yeah.
or this. Now, there's a place for that for sure, but you have to teach them that
Uh-huh.
there is a no and a yes, that there's a right and a wrong. And I see her. It's been very fun watching her grappling with these issues as a new parent, and watching her decide how to discipline, when to discipline. And I think she's a little softer than I was for sure. Her personality is a little more of a nurturer, maybe, or a little more of a feeling person. I was more of a black and white, and I had to soften myself. But for us, there were boundaries that we set that we would not cross. For example, church. We would not allow our kids to participate in any sport that had anything to do with Sundays.
Mhm.
Sundays was boundaried out. Even when we went on vacation, we went to church. So they grew up with that. They never questioned it. They never said, "Can I please go play football?" because they knew what our answer was. So if you can begin with standards that the both of you agree with, your husband and your spouse, wife, it's easier at the younger ages. If they're older, I would sit them down and say, "You know what? We made a mistake. We've made a few mistakes, and these are what they are, and we're gonna change them now. We're gonna now guard our Sundays. We're now going to, um, not do these behaviors. We're now gonna turn off TV when it's not favorable language or content." And you can still I think you can still turn it around when they're older. It's easier when they're young, but even as teenagers, that's what I would do if I had started out differently. And I would have said, "You know what? There is a right and wrong." I would have taught them that, and don't listen to everything that you hear. Don't believe everything you read. Um, Work it through, and obviously within all this, you want to teach them biblical principles and theology and things like that, so that when they hear something, it goes through that filter. You watch a movie together as a family, and there's a scene in there that maybe mirrors something that you don't agree with. Either stop the movie there or at the end say, "What did you think about that?" And evaluate it. Turn into an evaluated parent, um,
Mhm.
to try to help them gain a worldview that they can look through this lens that's not dirty with all the other stuff, but they can see clearly what God wants for them.
Mhm. We want to take a break and thank our sponsor, Renewanation. If you've benefited from the Gospel Shaped Family podcast, consider hopping online and making a tax-deductible donation at renewanation.org today. Your generous donations make this podcast possible and further our work to help children develop a biblical worldview. Also, if you've enjoyed this episode, you can support us by leaving a 5-star review wherever you listen. This helps us grow and reach more families with a biblical worldview. Now back to the show.
So I summarize what you said as you have biblical standards of discipline, and there's boundaries that your kids know. You have a set plan for a family schedule that puts the most important things first and doesn't allow
Yeah.
those things that are good, but they can weed out the more important things. If which a ton of families do, and teaching God's word at home through conversations and opening the Bible. I those three things you just said are gold. Like I don't think honestly it's rocket science. A
Well,
lot of
and
the
it
stuff.
transcends the generation,
Yeah.
right? Like what this young generation needs is what children have needed through all of eternity. They
Mhm.
they need parents who will love them and point them towards Christ and read them the Bible and give them clear boundaries and yeah, so it's like there's so much periphery going on, but really like it's those core
Yeah.
tenets that hold
Yep.
true.
And
Yep.
my
That's
next book is, written around the Shema in Deuteronomy 6 and talking about, formal and informal family, ministry and education. We did not sit down at the dinner table as much as a family and do family worship because we had it built into our curriculum. We
Mm,
did Bible, as part of our subjects. If you don't
mhm,
have that, then I would highly recommend it, but even easier than that is on-the-go discipleship. So when you go past an ambulance, make it a habit of saying, "Let's just pray for a second," for those people that are in there and the medical providers. If you see a ladybird beetle in the park, say, "Look at this. Isn't this incredible? God's an amazing creator, isn't he?" So turn all those little moments that just happen, and oftentimes you think like you get a flat tire and you think, "Dang it," and you think that this is just an inconvenience. Well, it's actually a chance for discipleship if you take advantage of it. Always point things back to God, and gradually, I think their world will become more oriented towards that, and not just seeing you frustrated with road rage or, or whatever that you normally might react with. So, yeah,
great. So you mentioned this is kind of the COVID-19 generation. I
yeah,
mean, it impacted all of us,
yep,
but specifically kids when they're in their transformative years of life, and it is, that happened to them, and it's
mhm,
shaping how they view authority, how they view the world, how they manage their emotions. How did that impact COVID-19? How do you see that impacting who this generation has become, and what do you think will be some of those um, impressionable marks that it leaves on this generation?
mhm,
yeah. I think the biggest, most visible one to them is that they had all their events canceled, no prom, no graduation, having to go home for school, which actually I don't think was that bad of an idea, having them be at home with their mothers, even if it's with their iPads. Um, so yeah, they've got that whole educational circle, but they're sitting at home, they're not able to see their friends, they can't go play at the park, they can't see grandma and grandpa, so they get lonely, they're scared of, eventually they had to sit 6 feet apart, they walked in a line with a whole bunch of space in between each other, so they're starting to think, "Wow, grandma did not do well with this, is it gonna happen to me too? I'm scared." So fear came in, anxiety started, um, they were depressed, the ADHD, panic attacks, OCD, PTSD, all those disorders with lovely initials all started to grab them, and they had no way to let them out, that no way to get help because we were all stuck in our homes. I was talking about this with my daughter yesterday, and she was saying how she was forced to get vaccinated and how she was a healthcare worker, and every time she left the area, she had to show police her certificate that she could travel around. I mean,
Yeah.
it impacted everybody, but there was a quote in my book that said, "We don't know the half of what the impact's gonna be on this youngest generation." I think we're still going to see the impacts of that in the future. So yeah, COVID-19, I was talking with a kid not long ago and at our VBS and they said, "Oh yeah, that was horrible. We couldn't see our friends or anything." And their memories may be simplistic like that, but I think the emotional turmoil, is more complicated.
I read that it's the most medicated generation of kids in
Yeah,
history.
I was gonna ask what yeah, tell us if your research had anything to say about that. The most like, it does seem like we see so many kids that are on medications or are diagnosed with a disorder or, you could go down the list, things that we didn't really see, like, with our peers when we were kids. You did a lot of that stem because of COVID-19, do you think? Or do you think that the 2 go hand in hand?
I can't
Or
imagine
what
I can't
plan?
imagine another event having that kind of impact other than COVID. I mean, therapy, if you don't go to therapy now, there's something wrong with you. There's, like you said, so many, disorders with kids, so many special needs kids, and I wonder if part of that is parenting or the lack of,
Mhm.
but then exacerbated by COVID-19 stuff,
For
worries,
sure.
concerns, anxiety. Between the 2 of them, I feel like our kids are a disaster. I was reading that bad therapy book not long ago, and the
Oh, yeah,
stuff
that's a
there
good one.
the stuff in there is just like, oh my gosh, because 'cause they're all going, and our daughter is 21, so she's Gen Z, and she was at a Christian college, a very good Christian college, and half of her friends were either on medication or went to a
Mm.
therapist at the school. So, of course, she jumped on the bandwagon and started too, and she got medicated for, I think it was ADHD or something, which and she was saying, "And I've got borderline, um, what is it? Not Alzheimer's, it starts with the letter A when you can have trouble communicating with people. I can't remember.
Um,
Asperger's?
No, no, kids of
Autism?
yes, autism, that's the one.
Now I'm
yeah,
like
they
now
throw
I'm like
that
pulling out all
around.
Yeah,
the let's see, which
all
one?
the A letters.
Yeah.
She got told that that's what she had and that she needed to do
Yeah,
therapy and everything, and I'm like, "You've gotta be kidding me," and her friends were trying to commit suicide, and this is at a
yeah,
Christian school, and she's now living with us, she's not on any medication, she shows no signs of any of those things, but it was like a trend.
yeah,
Um,
Yeah.
and if you don't do it, you're not cool and you're not with it and you need the help and you can't cope with life. It's so hard. And they're just not very resilient anymore.
yeah.
Um, so yeah.
Yeah, that is a good book. So for people who are listening, it's Abigail Schreier,
Yep.
Mm,
her book Bad Therapy, which does a little bit of a not a little bit, a deep dive. It does a deep dive into the trends in therapy and counseling, things that are going on even in the public school systems in terms of um yeah, how our kids' minds and hearts are being shaped by, so and so-called medical professionals,
yeah.
but really it's leading our kids astray and down a really dark path.
yeah, how it's fueling and shaping and driving a lot of the things that they say they're trying to help kids with. They're actually
Makes it
planting those
worse.
ideas and driving a
Yes,
lot of it.
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
Like your daughter.
Like your
yeah,
daughter, and the reality is that, like, life is hard. Life you difficult things are gonna be thrown at you, and it doesn't mean that you need to be medicated, and it doesn't mean that you need to, like, label yourself as being, you know, traumatized and all these
right.
different things. Like, I always give the example, like, when I was a kid, I was in a plane crash. I literally survived a plane crash. I remember it. I don't need therapy for that. The Lord protected me, and we were okay. And so it's like,
Wow.
"Come on, kids, toughen up. Let's go." Like, yeah,
I'm like
there you go.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see how shapes kids moving forward.
yeah,
Ours were a little more. It obviously impacted everybody.
yeah.
Ours, I feel like the impact was it was a much smaller
Our kids.
percentage. Yeah, our
Yeah.
church shut down like everybody
All their
else's, and
activities, yeah.
for I don't remember what it was, 4 or 5 months, and then of course we had to be like spaced out in so it was another I don't know 3 or 6 months of like stuff not the same at church.
Mhm.
But then, since we homeschool, their educational side of things, we're gonna call it that, that just we didn't skip a beat. We were doing the same thing we were doing pre-COVID,
Yeah.
and their it didn't have any change for them in that regard. It did a little bit with the group-based stuff, but we those did you keep meeting with I can't remember what you kept doing with band now.
We
I'm starting to get foggy.
our homeschool group, we shut down for 3
3
months,
months, yeah.
and then we started up again in the fall. Even though most things were still closed, our
That's right.
group was like, "We're still starting up."
Yeah.
The funny thing with COVID is so I don't even know if the shutting down of, like, the school groups and the meeting groups, if that affected our kids as much as things that they saw and people said to them out and about. Like, we were at Costco on Tuesday. I was with all the kids, we were at Costco, and we went to a Costco that we used to go to, before we moved. And, so that was, like, our pandemic where we would go to Costco, and our 11-year-old saw one of the workers there and said, "That is the lady who called me a monster because I wasn't wearing a mask." There was a lady who called her a monster, and she was, like, 4 and a half or whatever. And I remember in that situation being like, "No, no, no, everybody's okay," like, whatever, but I think it's some of those, like, societal, people that's what our kids remember about COVID, like, "Oh, that lady called me a monster," and we all laughed about it. We were like, "Ah, ha, ha," she's
It has created complete mistrust for all of our children
Yeah,
for the government because
yeah.
here the government is
Well, in Minnesota.
government
Yeah,
run, saying all this stuff about the pandemic, and then of course encouraging vaccination. And now that things have, it's been a few years, you're seeing all of this was largely a lie.
yeah,
And you're seeing Fauci's stuff coming out like just
in
recently
real
here,
time.
and you're looking at this going, and rightfully so, the kids are going, what can I trust if
Mhm.
this was a very noticeable lie? Obviously, there was some issues going on with, basically it was a pumped up flu
Yeah,
virus that was going around. So obviously, we're not downplaying the reality of it. And it was serious for some people. So, but the solution to that and the narrative that was given by the government, it creates now complete distrust for our kids of that generation to go, okay, they weren't forthright and they moved into very totalitarian, authoritative kinds of actions for this. What does that mean for pick your subject now that the
mhm,
government talks about, and just destroys the foundation of trust that our kids have for as they look at authority figures, which is
yeah. Well, and
extreme.
put it together with these tech savvy kids, right? So we talked about the kids have the device in their hands and they're able, they're mobile and they're reading and we're seeing things in real time. I think we are going to have, this generation of young people who, and like we said earlier, they're questioning things that the generations hadn't questioned. They hadn't questioned marriage and gender and a lot of these things. So I think that we are going to be looking at a generation that questions authority and wants answers and wants to dig deeper and uses information. And so maybe that's a good thing, you know? Well, we want to raise kids who uh, dig deeper and understand the truth of Christ, but we want them to
Sure.
know the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think I think the whole technology thing, it impacts them in a whole bunch of ways, that we haven't talked about, like, interpersonal
Mhm.
skills. They've forgotten how
Oh,
to
yeah.
people.
Mhm.
Emotionally, one book I was reading, I think it was, the only guy that's written on Gen Alpha, and his name is Mark McClintock.
Hmm.
McClintock. He's an Australian sociologist, actually Christian. He's the only one that had written a book on Gen Alpha before I wrote mine. And I contacted them and said, "Have you written on them in terms of American children? Is there any different from Australian?" Because he's Australian. And he said, "No, pretty much the same." I said, "What about in churches?" He said, "Nothing." So that's why I went there. But he talks
Mhm.
about it as being up aging, where you're chronologically young, but you're emotionally overexposed to things.
Oh,
You
yeah.
lose your sense of wonder because the stuff that's bombarding your brain is just crazy. Your language skills, your attention span is messed up. The
Mhm.
physically, their physical activity is reduced. They're not running around the backyard anymore. They're sitting downstairs in the basement playing. So there's increased obesity and decreased health. Sleep quality and quantity is affected as well. And then psychologically, with this whole Wi-Fi, internet, text messaging, the whole idea of comparison, bullying, online predators. There's so many things that impact them, and then you put all that together in COVID-19, and the iPads were their babysitters.
Mhm.
That was their childcare at the time. Mums, if they were working from home, still were working, and their kids were on unsupervised iPads, and so yeah, the screen time has just skyrocketed. And I think it all intertwines into this horrible 10 years of poor Generation Alpha, what they've been exposed to. It's been really hard, I think, and I think as parents, we have a huge responsibility to pull them out of it, help them climb out of that,
Yeah.
whether it be, um, changing the way we approach things, and whether it means keeping them home, putting them in Christian school if you can afford it, whatever it be, we have a big job, that generation of kids, so,
Yeah.
Mhm.
mm.
So what are you encouraging parents to do on the technology side with this generation?
Oh, goodness, don't give your phones to 6 and 7-year-olds. I saw that
Amen.
at VBS a couple of years ago. A little 8-year-old was walking around with her phone, and she was bragging about it, "Look what I got."
Wow.
I just couldn't believe that Christian parents would do that. Australia has an interesting plan. I don't think it's going to work, but they've now restricted social media to over 16. So apparently you have to upload your birth certificate to get access, but our kids are smart. There's ways around everything. We can put parent controls on our TVs, on our Wi-Fi. There's a workaround for everything. So I really think it has to start at the foundational level, not just do's and don'ts, not just rules, um, and show them, teach them how to use the internet, but help them to know how to discern what they're looking at is good. How do you discern counterfeit? You teach them a real thing. Um, so yeah, it's gonna be different for every family, every child. Some will be more inclined, if they've got addictive type of personality, more inclined to be addicted to their screens. Others don't care. So our daughter throws her 3-year-old boys out in the backyard all the time, and she restricts the little tablets for, like, if they're going on a long road trip or something.
Mhm.
Uh, so yeah, my husband, when our kids were young, he would come home every Black Friday almost for a number of 3 or 4 years with a car DVD player, and I would
Mhm.
put it back in his bag and truck it back off to the store. I said, "We're not doing that." So, our kids never got a DVD player in the car, and I would give them books and activities to do, and we would listen to audio tapes, like Adventures in Odyssey from, Focus on the Family and stuff like that, and that's
Mhm.
just how we did it. It's not as hard as it is now, I don't think, but it's possible. You can definitely get control of it.
Yeah.
You can do it,
You can
absolutely.
totally do it, and for the tech-wise parent, there are so many fun new things to make screen-free, like listening like a Yodo player, or even like, streaming in the car. You can even like do audiobooks on YouTube and they're free and listen to them. I mean, it's like all we need is for families to like embrace technology, to use it on books and screen-free stuff. Can be
It's
done. It
yep.
can be
It's
done.
it's just a it's a priority
It
decision
is
and
a
it's a
priority.
value decision,
Yes.
and it obviously is hard sometimes because 'cause we've all experienced the intrusion of screens in different ways.
Mhm.
But you made the point of there's other replacements
Yep.
like books and outside, and if those are given to kids, they have a lower likelihood of being on screens. So we fully agree with that. What we've done, those of you that have listened to this podcast before, our kids are not allowed on social media until
Uh-uh.
after they graduate from high
High
school,
school.
because so much of they're getting their news from TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. That's where their learning's coming from. And we just want to be very intentional about
Yeah.
the foundation that's laid very well before they start having that kind of onslaught. And that's what it is. I mean, it is a never ending
Mhm.
flow of opinions and views. And some of it's
Yeah.
fun and funny and it's fine, but others of it is it shapes extremely
Yeah.
strongly. I mean, this was Jonathan Haidt's book, The Anxious Generation,
Yeah.
shows how the views of children, and especially girls,
Mhm.
have been, influenced by screens, and it is significant. Like, it's not a little bit, it's a lot, it's a ton, and so
Oh, yeah.
parents that think, "Oh, this isn't
This is harmless. This
you're
is cute. Yeah.
for a lot of children's, that's not true, and it's
Mhm.
very impactful. So,
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
even you think about, like, and this is true for us as adults, is sometimes you don't even know what's coming at you, and they're not prepared for what's coming at you. Like, I remember, like, last year when Charlie Kirk was shot. Our oldest son, he saw like, he wasn't he was just, like, looking at the coverage and then saw that footage, and maybe you saw that footage too, but there was definitely the footage of showing, like, "Oh, my hero that I look up to, Charlie Kirk, like, brutally murdered." You didn't he didn't know, we didn't know it was coming at you.
and you can never get that
And you can never
out of
unsee
your
it.
mind. Yeah.
And so even for there's, like, an emotional maturity there that your kids need, and as an adults too, to say, "We don't know what's coming at us. Are we prepared?" Like, I wasn't prepared to see that, yet I saw it, and I'm sure everybody could point towards something that they saw that they weren't prepared for. So, all
Visual
the more
stays in your
important.
brain,
Yeah.
stays in your memory, so you can't get it out
Yeah.
when you've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah. Kids
Yep.
don't need that. Kids
Yep.
don't need that. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, what would be so we've talked a lot about the challenges for this generation and some of the defining marks. Are there positive characteristics from the Gen Alpha generation that it's good to highlight?
No, none. No, there is, I talked about it a little bit at the beginning about, they're going to surpass anything we've ever imagined with technology. Their technology is just gonna explode under them, and I think it's because they were exposed so young to it, and they are just technologically minded. They're not scared about I remember being terrified to push buttons on my phone, and I would ask them, "Where do I find how you do this?" "Mum, you just go into general and da 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 da," and if you do something wrong, it doesn't matter, you can backtrack everything and nothing is permanent.
Yeah.
And so they just learn, um, so quickly and easily, and the world is opening up. I know we have different opinions on AI. I was watching Trump yesterday talk about how AI is going to be the future. There's no avoiding it, and we need to get ahead of China because whoever's ahead of China with AI, it will control the world. And
True.
it's going to be, and there are really good sides of AI, and then there are the negatives. Again, with our kids, we need to show them the negatives. I don't think we should necessarily say, no, you can't use AI. Show them the right way to use it. Again, talk about evaluating and being discerning because they're going to get into it whether we like it or not, and it's coming. I remember, um, when it was just the internet, it's coming. We can't stop it, and we can't ignore it. We can't ignore the fact that kids like iPads. We need to show them the best way to use them, give them good content. So I really think that that's what we need to try and do with these kids. But they're going to make huge inroads medically, engineering wise, all different fields of study. They're just, and it's going to just outpace the learning from the last century ridiculously. We're not going to even have to hold on our hats and watch it speed by. It's going to be huge.
Yeah.
So honestly, I think that's probably the biggest thing. Um, if we can teach them how to control, rein in the negatives, I think that they've got a ton of positives that can come in the wake of their culture that they're living in. So,
Okay. That's great. Well, I wanted to close today maybe with a couple questions about Gen Z, or no, Generation Alpha. So Gen Z, Generation Alpha slang.
Oh.
This is
whoa,
fun.
whoa, don't even go there. I wouldn't have a clue.
Okay, so I'm gonna throw out a
Oh,
few. I'm gonna throw
yeah.
out a few.
Okay, you
Our
start a few.
youngest is Gen Z, so I don't know. I'm not
Gen
sure.
Alpha slang. These maybe go up to the older,
They
the
might
next
they
generation.
might cross Gen
A
Z.
little bit, yeah.
You have to
All
Google
right,
it.
I'll start with some easy one. An easy one.
Okay.
You're
What?
asking me? Oh my
Yes, I'm
goodness.
gonna ask you.
Okay,
I'll
okay.
All
I'll
right, I'll start with an easy one. What's 6'7" mean? 6'7"?
6,
You know what? I did a
7.
cursory reading of that, and it had to do with some basketball player, I think, being
Yeah,
6.
yeah, you're right.
But I have no idea how that got turned into different applications. No idea.
Yeah,
I just know it's
LaMelo
gone.
Ball,
It's
who's a
good.
Who's a Timberwolf now, by the way,
Woo-woo,
yeah.
Minnesota.
It
I
really
think it
has,
means
yeah,
nothing. It
nothing.
means nothing. It
Mhm.
means, like, there's no meaning, and our yeah, our kids are always like, 6, 7 at Christmas last year, we got together with both sides of the family, and our kids made it their goal at both family gatherings to get the grandpas
Oh,
to say 6, 7 without being prompted. It's
It's
a
good,
thing.
that's the thing. All right,
Yep.
another easy one, the GOAT.
The
oh,
goat.
greatest of all times?
Yep,
You
there you
got
go,
it. You
good.
got it.
All right, how about glow up?
Oh,
Glow
no
up.
idea. Mm-mm.
She got a
Don't know.
glow up.
What's that,
Uh,
Jen? What
uh,
is the GOAT?
uh, uh,
Well,
facial? I
yeah,
don't
they're looking good, they look
Oh, I'm looking good.
better, like,
Okay.
yeah, like, they'll be like,
I know
"Ooh,
what
he got a glow up," which means, like, a cool outfit and a great new haircut or something.
Okay, our daughter doesn't
Okay,
use
good. How about that's cringe?
Oh gosh, I heard that recently. Isn't it just like, I don't know, freak
Yeah,
me out sort of a thing?
yeah, like,
Yeah.
"Ew."
Ew,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
ick, yeah,
ick.
ick's another
Like,
one they say, ick or
yeah.
cringe, yep.
That's
Yeah, yeah,
ick.
that's
I
ick,
was I
okay.
was listening to something you said about your farm having chickens walking in 2
And
inches of poop,
if
mud,
if
and that's cringeworthy,
That's
definitely.
cringe, there you
that's
go.
cringe.
Very cringe,
Yeah.
yep. Alright, maybe a couple of harder ones. I don't
Uh-oh.
know if you've heard any of these. What about the word unk?
Unk.
UNC.
No idea.
It means, like, you're not
It's like your
cool,
uncle that's
old.
older and not cool, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You
Don't know
got
what
an
I
that
unk.
will admit I have had young kids be like, "You're so unk." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not unk, I'm cool."
Yes. Yes, yes. Alright, here's a good one. How
'Kay.
about aura?
Aura. AURA.
Well, isn't that the same as having an aura, a glow about you? No?
Yeah, kinda
Yeah,
like
like your
you're
personality, you
positive,
got a
there's a good
positive
vibe, a good
vibe.
Yeah.
skill, yeah,
Okay,
you put out
Yeah.
cool.
like a you do something
That
well,
one
it's like,
makes sense.
"Ooh, that's a good aura,"
Mhm.
yeah. Yep, yep.
Yep.
Alright, last one I got is Riz,
Riz.
R-I-Z-Z.
Oh, is that like Rizzo from Survivor?
I
Uh,
don't know
I have
if that's a
there was
connection.
a kid on the Survivor who was like 19 and he used to call himself Riz.
Riz,
Oh,
oh, alright.
I feel like Survivor is popular with Gen Z right now.
Yeah, kinda yeah, it
It
is.
Survivor has super come back.
It
It
has
never went away, but
Oh,
yeah.
really?
I mean, it's had like 20 some, like
I
20,
only watched,
28
like, season
yeah,
seasons.
1.
it's been going forever, yeah, but
Okay, maybe
Riz,
I'm just behind.
like, Riz means, like, cool,
Right.
charisma,
Mhm.
swag, like,
That would
yeah,
make
get
sense.
Riz. Yeah.
Yeah. He's
Yeah.
Good. Well, there's a million, of course, and they never they
And they
never
always
stop. They always
change.
change, but it's kind of fun to
We
fun
think
to
they're
talk
fun.
about the slang.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I should throw some Aussie slang at you, and then I'd be winning that one, but
Yeah, you
Right?
would. I'd have no
Exactly.
idea.
Exactly.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's great.
Very fun.
All right. Well, Janine, if anybody listening wants to read your book, list the title again.
When You See Fireflies, that one?
Yep. And it's available on Amazon.
It is. I've got about 25 different resources and books on Amazon, so
Yeah. Okay. So
Okay.
just type your name
Find
in,
your author page.
Janine McNally. Yep.
yeah. Mhm.
That is great. And is there anywhere else they should find you? Social media, web address, anywhere else?
Well, I just changed everything, so, just look up Janine McNally. Actually, I couldn't get the URL that I wanted, so I went with J McNally Ministry for some of them, so
Okay.
my
That's
email
great.
address is janinemcnally5@gmail. So,
Okay. If anyone
All
wants to
right.
reach out, I love
yeah,
it.
yeah.
All right. Well, thank you,
Okay. Thanks,
Janine.
Janine, for being
We
here with
we
us.
appreciate
Yeah,
it. And
Riz, and I have
Yeah.
aura.
You got Riz and Aura. There you go. Well,
There you
that
go.
does it for today. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. We're honored to partner with Garrett and Yvette Hampton, and today I want to point you to their podcast, Schoolhouse Rock. Each episode will help you disciple your children and capture a biblical vision for education. If you're a home educator or you've even thought about home educating your children, this podcast is for you. Their guests have incredible expertise and powerful testimonies. We've been great friends for many years, and I encourage you to subscribe so you don't miss any episodes. Schoolhouse Rock is working hard to bring biblical truth to your family. You can find them on YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Thank you for listening to the Gospel Shaped Family Podcast. Please share this episode and give us a 5-star rating wherever you get your podcasts.